Good morning, everybody. Hope your coffee's as good as mine. It is Friday. We made it. We made it to the end of the week, man. All right. Here's to just you, me, Jerry, and let's do this. We got a great guest. We've got Dr. Rachel Bidicoffer waiting in the wings. We are going to do this today. It is, I am super stoked to have Dr. Bidicoffer on the show. I know I've talked to you about her many times. We've talked about posts she's put on social media. We've talked about her ideas as far as swing voters and just, I'm super stoked to have her on the show today. So let's not waste any more of her time. Let's get to this. Let's do it. Welcome. So glad to have you here. I am super stoked to have you here. I really am. We talk about you all the time. We really do. You're going to love this audience. You really are. You are going to love this audience. The Texas Paw Potheads are not your normal audience that you get in these shows online. They are not. These are people that are really plugged into politics. They will be having a parallel discussion when we're talking about everything we're talking about today. They will be having a parallel discussion over. In fact, they will probably be 2 or 3 questions ahead of us. So keep an eye out over there. You're going to love it. I am so glad you're here. I am so glad you're here. How you doing
I'm glad to be here too. So I'm happy to have some coffee with Texas Paul and the y'all crowd. Right? It's going to be great.
Y'all Cada.
Yeah, y'all Cada. Now, I did my PhD in Georgia, right? And I never said y'all till I spent 6 years in the Deep South. But I'm an efficiency freak. Like, my thing is efficiency. I love efficiency in everything. Okay, and I was like, oh, something that takes you and all and makes it short and convenient. It's got to be for me. So I actually have stuck with y'all all this time.
Well, you kind of sound dumb walking around saying you all. I mean, you sound like a donkey. You all, y'all.
Y'all is nice, right?
I want to get right to it because I was actually hoping to be about halfway through with this today, but I'll tell you an interesting story. You have a new book out.
I do.
I want to jump straight into that right away. It just became available to the public yesterday. I went down to my Books of Millions to buy it. And this is why I tell people don't move to the country. Okay. This is why let me tell you about my story going down to buy your book yesterday. Is it Rachel Bidicoffer, Hit 'em Where It Hurts, How to Save Democracy, Beating Republicans at Their Own Game. I am dying to get into this. I really am. But I show up at Books a Million yesterday, and it's supposed to be released yesterday. So I'm like, hey, I got a new release here that I'm trying to find from Dr. Bidicoffer. She's like, well, give me the title and I'll see where it is. I said, okay. So I show him on the phone. I just gave him the phone. And I do it. I'm bad about it. Wife gets pissed at me about that. I do that all the time. I'll pull up a picture and just hand somebody my phone. So she looks at it. Oh, yeah, we've got it. It should be over in current affairs. Go to the current affairs section, should be over there. Okay. All right, fine. So I go walking over there and I'm looking 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 and I'm looking. I finally go marching back up. It ain't there. You said in the computer, you got it. It ain't there. She's like, oh, yeah, we probably just haven't stocked it yet. I'm like, oh, no. It releases today. It is supposed to be on the shelf today. What do you mean? What do you mean? Vicky H. Look, she says, I bought her book yesterday. I'm telling you, this is good. You're going to love this audience. So anyways, I'm telling her, this is why you don't move to the country, folks. Because I'm like, well, look, can you grab me one? No, we'll probably have them out tomorrow. Come back tomorrow and get one. I'm not even joking. We moved from the city, Rachel. We moved from the city, okay? And it used to be like there were Home Depots. There's like 3 of them within 20 minutes of each other. And I would go down to Home Depot because I'm a handy guy. This is what I do. And if they didn't have something, they would be, 1 second, sir. They'd check inventory. Okay, yeah, we don't have one, but let me check my other store. Pick up their handy dandy store provided phone, call the store 20 minutes away, have them confirm that they actually did have one, and come back to me, Mr. Schroeder, would you like me to have them pull one and have it waiting for you at customer service? Or would you prefer to have me have this shipped over to my store and it'll be available to you this afternoon, or if it's too late in the afternoon, it'll be available to you first thing in the morning. Which would you like me to do? In the country, it's, I went to go get a drill bit at Home Depot. They didn't have it. Truck comes Wednesday. Man, this is Friday. What do you mean the truck comes Wednesday? He's like, yeah, truck comes Wednesday. Well, you going to have one on the truck on Wednesday? Don't know. Got to check in Wednesday. What? So what you're telling me is go buy someone somewhere else. He's like, I can't tell you that. So I knew he told other people that, got in trouble for that shit.
Now, Paul, I gotta tell you, dude, you're really touching on like the reason my house in Eugene, because I just moved back home to Oregon like 2 years ago. Once I was purged out of my university and didn't have to live on the East Coast anymore. I was like, well, I'm going home, right? And thank God the pandemic created Zoom meetings, right? So I can live anywhere and still work in DC. So, when I picked my house, there's a reason I did this. I picked a house that's like literally on the edge of the incorporated city, okay? So if I come out, I take a left and I'm back roading through country like I like. I take a right and I can have anything I want, any amenity on the day that it's released, right? So it's the best of both worlds, dude.
That's what I tell people. People are like, I want to live in the country. So look, let me tell you something. I've lived in the city and I've lived in the country. And I mean, right now I'm country. I am country as it gets, man. I'm telling you there, I could walk off my back porch and pee buck ass naked. Nobody's going to see nothing. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, it is country out here. I've lived in both. You want to live in the city. You do. If you got to choose, you want to live in the city. The stores, the people, the events, the medical care.
Yes. Oh my God, definitely that. Especially after Republicans have decimated rural areas for 30 years, right? I mean, the rural record of the Republican Party is one of complete and total evisceration of the rural community. So living there is much tougher than it used to be.
We used to have a hospital just right up the road at a county. I live in a county that's just extremely rural. The county seat is a little town called Gilmer, Texas. And it used to have a hospital. It did. Gone. Been gone for 5-6 years. If you want hospital care, you got to drive an hour that way.
That's crazy.
And I hope you are not having an emergency.
No shit, you're going to be dead.
and we live in a forest. So like, even if you get star flight, it's like you have to drive someplace that knocked down a parking lot.
You have a forest in Texas?
Oh yeah, Texas, man. Texas is like nowhere else on earth. We have everything here. We have forests.
Where's that at?
The coast. I live up in Northeast Texas, up by the Arklatex, up in the northeast corner.
Oh, okay.
If you leave Dallas and drive towards Louisiana, Dallas is in the plains. It's in the bottom of the plains. So we have that in Texas. I've only ever seen the Panhandle across, whatever that's the 10 or the 20, the interstate. Yeah. See, the Panhandle is the beginning of the Western Desert. That looks more like Colorado, New Mexico. And you keep going east there, you get desert and you run into the Davis Mountain. We have mountains. They're not big mountains, but we have mountains. It's the same mountain range that comes out of New Mexico where Taos is and all the skiing is up there. Okay. We've got that. We've got the coastal plains down there. We've got a valley down there. It's Texas, man. We got a little bit of everything in this. I mean, when you make a state this damn big, guys, it's huge. I mean, I went to Austin to do an event, and I was going to hook up with Beto to do an interview.
was like, oh, I'll drive over to El Paso from Austin and do the interview. I mean, you can't be more than 4 hours. And then I was like, actually, no, dude, let's just do Zoom, man. It's like 9 hours from the center of Texas, dude.
And that is some desolate territory. I used to hunt down there, man. It is some desolate territory down there in New Mexico. That's the beginning of the Mexican desert down there. It really is. It is something. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about that. I've mentioned this to people before. I am also one of the people that are intellectually lazy and talk about swing voters. And I've always told people there really is no such thing. That's the rarest unicorn on the face of the planet. Is an actual person that vacillates from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. To me, I've always said, look, there are people that are receptive and have the values that match the Democratic Party. And then there are the fucked up people that are MAGA and just don't bother to vote, that are receptive to the Republican Party. These people do not intercross. Stop trying to run candidates that are going to appeal to a voter that does not exist.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Let me, since you haven't had an opportunity yet to read the book because you live in the middle of bumfuck, okay? You can't get a book for like 5 days.
I'll get it today. I will get it today.
Let me tell you like about the swing voters, right? So in this book, there's a lot of things happening in this book, and I highly recommend you read it because if you think you know a lot about American politics, you're going to be surprised. You're like, oh, we're doing this all wrong, right? So with swing voters, most voters are partisan. Partisanship is the most important determinant to a vote choice. What that means is, like, if I know nothing about you, Texas Paul, I didn't know your name. I don't know you're a man. I don't know you're a cowboy. I don't know you're old. I don't know you're young. I don't know you're educated. I don't know anything else. But I know that you're either a Democrat or a Republican, or you're an independent who, when asked a follow-up question, do you lean towards the Republican or Democratic Party, and admit that you lean one way or the other, 9 out of 10 times, I can predict who you're going to vote for a year away from the election, and I'll be right every time. Okay, that's how strong partisanship is, and that big pool of independents that the breathless stump reporters are always fixated on is actually fairly small. Now, it's not invisible. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second, but it's a small segment. It's about 10-15% of that independent pool. And when you think about a race like Wisconsin's swing race, we're talking about a very marginal amount of the electorate, maybe 10% of it, which we would classify as free of partisan effect. Okay. And then within that group, as you just pointed out, there we have this version of the swing voter. They're informed, they're engaged, they follow the news, they're looking for a candidate that is, moderate, that talks about bipartisanship, that's going to be rational about policy, right? Well, okay, Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis, JD Vance, all elected in swing states, folks, didn't run that campaign, okay? And the reason is because the Republican Party knows actually most of these pure independents are regular voters because they were socialized into the civics of being a voter, but they are not like us. They are not interested, because interest is what drives engagement, not suppression, not access rules, though those matter. Interest is what drives American voting behavior. And those people are not interested. They don't have enough interest to become ideologically committed to something. Then that would cause them to lean into a partisanship mold, okay? Now, there are exceptions. Maybe you're watching this thinking, well, my mother-in-law, because my mother-in-law is this person, okay? She actually does read all the candidate websites, and you know what I mean? Like the Stump reporter would love her, but she's a unicorn, dude, okay? Most of these people are never going to read anything. They're going to make their vote decision in the last couple of weeks because that's the entire time of attention they're going to be willing to give to politics every 4 years. They'll give maybe a week of attention to it to go vote. And it will be about that driving narrative at the end. Now, Republicans have long, and the book goes through this, developed a system where their persuasion strategy is to push swing voters away from voting Democrats rather than to try to sell a candidate in that model of biography and bipartisanship like we keep doing. They just napalm the Democrat, brand them as a socialist, brand them as a crazy radical that wants to mutilate your children's genitalia and let brown people into your house to murder you, right? That's the persuasion message. And so what we're doing in Team Reform is we're working on getting Democrats to abandon the old strategy, the old model of campaigning, electioneering, and embrace the Republican model, which is one message that drives strong coalitional turnout. So that's the Democratic base, plus the independent leaners who just won't admit that they're Democrats. Strong turnout for those folks. But that same message is performing work on that swing bucket by pushing them away from the Republican Party, by assaulting the Republican Party's overall brand and tying each Republican candidate to that extremism. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're exactly right. That, you know, there are people who will switch their vote back and forth like crazy Jekyll and Hyde shit, right? And it's all in party. Now I'm on the out party because they're never happy. They don't know anything about politics. All they ever hear is shit and they're never happy. So it's always the incumbent that they break against. And Joe Biden's going to be facing that this time. But lucky for him, who have the Republican Party decided to elevate up for their nomination again? The only person probably that swing voters will not vote for, right? So we're in a good spot, even though it will feel very, very scary all the way through. And I'm happy to talk more about that.
When I came to this, I've followed politics my whole life. I have. I've been in more political arguments here in the state of Texas than you could ever imagine, because people do exactly what you're talking about. They listen to these and barf out at me these Republican talking points, and I'm like, that's bullshit, and this is why. People in Texas have heard me speak for a long time. When I hit social media, both sides were like, oh, what did he say? What did he say? I said, I started by saying, fuck you. You know, I mean, you want to call me a pedophile or a commie? Let's start the conversation right there. Fuck you. And let me tell you why the only people here that are actually governing, that are actually running the government, that are actually doing a damn job are the Democrats.
Yes.
That's it. Period.
Yes.
You're running your mouth, Republicans. You're full of shit. I could prove it statistically. 96% of jobs have been created since Reagan's have been created under Democratic institutions. So tell me how good you are at business, Mr. Republican full of shit.
That's exactly right. That's counter offense. You know, I love that.
I cannot tell you how both sides of the political spectrum went when they heard me say that, because Democrats had the party. I was reading what you were talking about. Democrats, you know, Michelle Obama, love her to death. Wonderful human being. When they go low, we go high. Bullshit. When they go low, you grab your fact bat, you jump in the ditch, and you start whacking the crap out of them and cracking skulls. That's what you do, because the person you're talking about follows strength. They are a crowd follower.
Yes.
They will remember a talking point. They will remember. If you go to that person to say, well, let me tell you about my policy and why my policy is actually better, they're going to go, but you're a commie pedo.
That's exactly right, dude. Paul, oh my God. Yeah. So like, you know, the marketing line for the book is, you know, when they go low, we got to hit them where it hurts. Right. Like, and here's the thing. Nobody's who's licking Vladimir Putin's asshole on a daily basis is gonna get away with calling me a fucking communist. I can tell you that, right? But what you're capturing, and you can do it without the baseball bat and the metaphorical beating to death. I'm sure you
I don't want to.
Right?
I don't want to.
I mean, the people that are listening to the show or whoever, right? Other people, you don't have to do it quite like that. But for God's sakes, man. Don't do it. Don't go cower and go, oh, I'm not one of those Democrats. And, you know, Paul said something so important. Those people follow strength. Yes. Okay. And so when we look at 2022, and in the book, I lay out the different strategies that ran on the swing map in Arizona and Michigan. We ran negative partisanship strategy, and they did great, right? In the old style, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, 0-3 on victory. And all of them, the message that swing voters ended up hearing from us was the same message that the Republican Party was saying about us, which was, don't vote for Tim Ryan. He's a Democrat. All Democrats are bad. And Tim Ryan's message to the swing bucket ended up being, yeah, but I'm not one of those Democrats, okay?
Oh,
You
yeah.
literally accept the premise, that strategy accepts the premise that there's something fundamentally flawed
Wrong with Democrat.
right? And so that is why it is like cardinal sin to run the apologetic Democratic campaign. So we ended up with voters in Florida, in Ohio, and in North Carolina who went into a ballot box, and they never once heard that their Republican choice was an extremist coming for their freedom, right? And if we don't tell people that, they're not going to know. So we have to tell them in our electoral strategy.
And what has been just political malpractice for the last 3 decades from the Democratic Party is the Republicans hand us stuff to throw at them. They literally hand us stuff. You know what I mean? And just say, here you go. Yeah, and it's verifiable, fact checkable truth that they have the 2025 project, that they want to gut our institutions, that they want people in place that have fealty to Trump. I'm not making this shit up. You can go read their words. They are fucking fascists.
Yes,
they are fucking fascists.
Dude. I'm not asking anyone to make shit up. Okay, I'm telling you. People don't know what we know about the Republicans, and if they did, they wouldn't like it. So probably we should tell them.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I am with you 100%. And you know what? I want to, and I apologize for this. I'm going to take a left turn here for a second, because I want people to understand that this isn't academic. I've got a little bit of a story I want to tell you. This happened last night. My wife has a lifelong friend that she went to high school with, and she has had a huge challenge. Her son had an addiction issue. He had a mental health issue, but they lived out in Alaska, which is like Texas. There is no mental health care where they're at. There just isn't. So she tried very hard to get him help, and he ended up going into a place that was awful. Came out more damaged than he went in. Blamed her for that his entire adult life. If you've never dealt with addiction or mental health issues, it is
horrible, soul
crushing.
Yes,
it is. And she has fought her entire life for this young man. So when we say we want free college so that people that will make the grades and will make the cut. And when I say free college, nothing is free. It means that we're going to pay for it. Okay. We're going to pay professors. We have to. You know, they're not going to teach for free. I mean, this is going to cost us money. But the reason we do this is because right now there are not people in the mental health fields to deal with the challenges we are facing. That's not academic. It's real. And this young man ended up ODing a few days ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And again, because we say decriminalize drugs, this isn't academic when we say decriminalize drugs. Because instead of taking him to get help or picking him up the phone and saying, hey, I got a guy here that's ODing, them hauling ass 4 minutes with a Narcan pen and bringing him back to where he could breathe, they didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
They didn't want him to get in trouble. So they took him to his apartment. They put him in a shower all the while he's ODing. And his brain died. But it gets better. It gets better than this. So when we say decriminalize drugs, it's not academic. This really happened to someone that my wife very much cares about.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. And it matters.
So-
You're exactly right about the policy, because in a blue state, those friends would have been protected, right? They would have been able to make that call and know that the EMTs would show up, administer the Narcan, and that's it. Like, there would be no repercussions, right?
But it gets better. It gets better. It does. So he's in the hospital. His brainstem didn't die. They took him off the ventilator. She's there with their son for her son to die, and he doesn't. So, because there is no avenue for euthanasia, and the right wings have shoved their churches up our asses, especially in radical ass places like Alaska, our dear friend is sitting with her son, who is starving to death.
Ugh.
Because they have to withdraw nutrition from him. But his brainstem is still alive, which means his heart is beating, he is breathing, his organs are functioning, but he is dead as a freaking doornail because the rest of his brain is gone. So now, instead of, okay, we cannot save him, he's gone, let's give him a big ass dose of morphine and send him on his way. She's going to sit with him for a week.
Yeah.
While he fucking starves to death in that bed.
Yes.
And that, my friends, is not academic. That is not a joke. When we talk about this, when we say fuck Republicans, this is why human beings really endure this stuff. Every day. We're not making it up. We're not saying, hey, we just want to help somebody, this arbitrary person because we're good people and this, that, and the other. No, these are our damn families.
It's their families too. That's the fucked up part, Paul. It's their families too, right? And that's how fucked up it is. They'll let their own kids waste away in a bed for a week, right? It's so crazy, dude. I'm so sorry about your friend's loss.
Insane. It is insane.
Yeah.
This isn't academic, folks. So when we say, I know I'm hyperbolic. I am. I'm hyperpartisan also. But I am for a reason. The stuff we're talking about, Rachel, it matters. It's real. There really is only one party that's governing. There really is only one party looking at the border and saying, okay, let's fix this.
Yeah.
Let's do, the other party is just talking shit. And like you're saying, Rachel, it works.
Mm-hmm. It does. It works. It's worked for decades. I just did Michael Steele's podcast, and when you get the book, you'll see it's blurbed by Jamie Harrison, Michael Steele, and Celinda Lake, who, if you don't know, is a big name Democratic consultant in DC. And we were talking about so I build my strategy. I started studying Republican electioneering strategy right my first year of my PhD. And what caught my attention, I was just talking about this last night on Twitter, was that we were go to grad school right after the Great Recession, the Iraq War, Obama's big victory. The conversation in Beltway media was, will the Republican Party be able to return to a congressional majority within a decade after those two giant screw ups? They thought they were going to be put out to pasture. Okay. And then within a year, November of 2010, the Republicans pick up 63 seats in the House, guys. 63 House seats in the 2010 midterm. And that was, to me, okay, I have to understand how that happens. Because I knew it wasn't just, backlash to Obamacare, right? There was more to the story. It wasn't
on good policy, I promise you that.
Yeah. And so when I started looking about, and that's when I figured out and started really paying attention to the asymmetry of strategic approach between the two parties. And I ended up focusing my teaching career and academic career largely along those lines. So when I did the Michael Steele podcast, what I was talking about was, this slow evolution. And Michael Steele says, in the Republican world, every cycle, we're oh, this is going to be the cycle Democrats change and get it. And then they never do. Until 2022, where we did at least half the swing map change. And so, it's just amazing how hard it's been to get this reform moving. And then that was why I decided to throw my old career aside and focus on electioneering strategy, because if we don't fix it, we're all going to die. Like, we have to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hyperbole, folks, when I tell you this election is it.
Yep.
This is it.
He's not running for 4 more years or a second term. I mean, my God, every time the media says that, and lots of people say, no one can get their head around the idea that he is not running for 4 fucking years, guys. You're not going to have to suffer through, how am I going to survive 4 more years of Trump? Folks, it ain't going to be 4 more years. It's going to be a permanent lifestyle switch. Yeah. And the first thing that's going is the free internet, dude. Okay. The free internet is the first thing that's going. So you won't see Texas Paul Schroeder anymore on YouTube, because we'll have Chinese version of Google from here on out. It will only let us have the information the party allows us to see. And, you know, if that sounds hyperbolic, please follow my Project 1933, Project 2025 work through the year, where I show people how the Germany had a constitution, they had separation of powers, they had federalism, they had judicial review. Okay, they have all the shit that we have. It was not as, you know, institutionalized, because it was a fresh democracy. It was a weak democracy. There's lots of differences, but there's also a lot of similarities. And when I walk through, people are going to see all it takes to end a constitutional order is a willingness to do so, and enough party support around you, or in the case of the Nazis, additional coalition support around you to allow you to position to do it. Okay. Once you're in that position to do it, it's easy. You get rid of the opposition, you get rid of free information, and boy, you're on a roll, right? It's downhill.
Yeah, because everybody keeps looking for that Republican that's going to be decent, the Republican that's going to do the right thing. Don't do that. That is not human beings, people. That is not who human beings are. They are going to march along. They have put their self-identity in the Republican Party. They are not going to believe anything bad about the Republican Party. That's why you can show them fact after fact after fact, and they will just brush it off.
Yep.
Because their self-identity is tied to the Republican Party. That guy you see with the Trump flag in his front yard will watch you die.
Yes.
He will. He will watch the institutions that Trump puts in place to come. Like when I'm on, after the election, you'll see it happen this way. My feed will go dark, and then the next thing you'll see, they're at my fucking house. They will drag me out of my goddamn house, and they will fucking shoot me in the head. And that guy with the freaking Trump flag will justify it in his mind why that had to happen.
No, yeah, I mean, it's exactly what happened in Germany. I mean, come on, guys. The German public could see what was happening. They just, right? They just didn't care, dude. I mean, like, they didn't care enough to risk their own lives and their own political viability and their own job and their own house and their own life to come help you. Okay. It's very easy. And here's the hard part for people to understand. Okay. It's not like we're saying Jan 21st, Texas Paul's feed's going to go out and they're going to come drag him out of the house and shoot him in his head, right? It's not going to happen in a bang, but it is going to happen within probably the first year. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it is going to be, you know, so difficult. Like, here's the thing, like in Germany, everyone dismissed the risk. Okay, all the way through the election and all, you know, it's just never going to happen. He's only talking. He's not going to actually do any of these things he's talking about, right? Then once they figured out that they had been wrong about that, guess what? It was too late. Too late. They already owned the entire power structure. So getting people to panic before there's an obvious cause to that panic is the key for our survival in this election cycle. And to give folks an idea of how heavy that lift is, I've been studying, obviously, the Nazis in World War II now for 3 years. I'm not an expert in this. I'm a trained political scientist and I hate fake experts. I'm not a historian, guys, and I don't have a PhD in history. So, but what I have learned in my academic study of this is that there's this humans are wired for optimism. We are really deeply wired for optimism, so much so that when I was reading individual diary entries from Jewish people in the Warsaw Ghetto, These folks who had already their business Aryanized, which means taken from them and given to a white German, their home Aryanized, taken from them and given to a Polish white Nazi sympathizer, put into a ghetto where they were forced by them, themselves to build the walls that would eventually encase them in there, stepping over starving to death people, children, old people, people dead in the streets, hearing that this rumor that deportation is coming and that what deportation east is going to mean is instant death. Okay. Even then, in these diary entries, there is optimism and a disbelief that could actually happen to them, even after all of that dispossession and torture, right? So that told me, oh, wow. Okay. What we have to do is make people panic before the collapse of power. And it's going to be really, really hard. So I appreciate that you're talking about democratic emergency and the stakes of this election cycle on your show.
Yeah. And folks will sometimes, I'll get backlash. They're like, well, you can't talk that way about Republicans. We do have to govern. We do have to get. No, we don't. We don't. We have to defeat them. That's what we have to do. If you want to
every time you
talk
about them in that way too, Paul, like, so we're telling people, these people are an existential threat and they're a cult and they've gone crazy and they're coming for you, but I'm going to work with them and do this thing and that thing. And so you're killing the other message, right? By normalizing them, right? So yes, you're exact in terms of rhetoric and messaging, the strategy. You can't confuse the message. They're either a dangerous cult that's a threat to every American's freedom, or somebody you want to do a bill on mental health. Yeah, and if you're talking about that, you're not helping us, right? Yeah, exactly.
And I tell people, if you want to polish your principles and stuff like that, do it when you have power.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And you represent people with the power you have, right? So when Republican strategists are sitting in a room looking at Texas Senate, the only thing they're thinking of is how do we maximize the probability of winning? That's it. That's the strategic objective, the mission. With us, it's how can we elect Colin Allred, but we got to make sure we have enough diversity, and we want to make sure we're representing everybody's issues appropriately, and we want to make sure that we don't say pregnant women, we say pregnant people, because 5 people in America might be a man that can have a baby or whatever, right? Like, that's crazy shit, dude. Where we need to protect our marginalized people is in policy, and what we need to do that is control of government. We should be focusing on the most salient wedge themes against Republicans. Everybody in Virginia ran on CRT in schools. Nobody gave a shit about that. Not one of those candidates gave 2 shits about race in schools in Virginia. But from every state legislative race, the AG, Social Secretary of State, and governor's race in 2021, the entire theme was CRT in schools, right? That's because you need centralization of messaging to make a cacophony, and you need a cacophony to make a narrative. So it's very, very important that folks realize the way to represent our hugely diverse interest group motivated coalition is one unifying theme that ties them all together, right? So something like your rights, freedom, and survival. So.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Preach it, sister. Preach it. And you can apply that to exactly what's going on in the world today. Tucker Carlson just sat down with Vladimir Putin, and it was, I urge people to watch it. I really do. People are like, well, don't, talk about, control the narrative, say what you want to say. And I'm like, oh no, I want to show you Republicans. I do, because that entire interview, 45 minutes, Putin just gave a diatribe on history that was bullshit. Yes. Complete bullshit. And Tucker Carlson was so ill prepared for that interview that he didn't push back on even stupid, idiotic points. And then Putin, I think I may even have a clip of it, Putin just humiliates him. About 45 minutes in, he just stops just to bitch slap Tucker Carlson.
Oh shit, it was the best thing ever, right?
I know, right? He's like, remember when you applied for your job at the CIA and they wouldn't hire you?
Yeah, it was
you remember
so
that?
funny, dude. Did you like the look on Tucker's face right there was so great. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, oh. What a fucking sucker, dude. What did he think was going to happen? Like Trump, I mean, or Putin's no dummy, dude. He's a million times more smart than someone like Donald Trump who wants to be a dictator, right? Putin is so fucking smart. That's what his job was, was the CIA, version
of the look on his face
of the Russian government, right? Oh yeah, let's see it. I love it. It's so great.
Yeah, I got the clip for you. Here you go.
With the backing of CIA, of course. The organization you wanted to join back in the day, as I understand. Thank God they didn't let you in. Although it is a serious organization. I understand.
It's the best shit ever, dude. They wouldn't let you in. I mean, it is a serious organization, so I guess I understand, right? Oh my God, it was so funny, dude. And the funniest fucking part about it all, Paul, is that was Putin being the nicest he's ever been to a journalist, because usually he just murders them.
Yeah, no shit, right? The look on Carlson's face, man, was just priceless. I got another quick clip for you I want to show you. This is what we're talking about, just Putin getting it wrong. This is, I mean, amazing stuff. Hold on, let me start it over. Let me so you can hear it. This is amazing shit. This is him talking about Germany.
Oh my God!
Why World War II started. And
I didn't watch
Poland started World War II. Poland started World War II.
Поляки вынудили, они заигрались и вынудили Гитлера начать Вторую мировую войну именно с них. Почему и началась война 1 сентября 1939 года именно с Польшей?
I lost the translation there. I'm sorry about that. What he says is that Poland just screwed around. Hitler told him. Yeah, Hitler told him, I want Gdansk and I'm taking it. And the Poles said, no, we're not giving you our country. We're not. And so Hitler just did what he needed to do. That's what
I would have never known this before, but now I do, because now I'm a fake expert in World War II. Guess what happened when the Polish invasion happened? Okay, from the West, it was invaded by Germany. Guess who invaded the same day from the East, though? Russia.
Yeah. But Poland started World War II. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it was predictable shit fire. I knew it would be. I mean, frankly, I try not to platform Tucker Carlson because he's going through some things, and he had a 3 million person audience on Fox News. He'll never have that kind of reach again. He's slipping into obscurity here, over the course. He'll be like Glenn Beck. I mean, Bill O'Reilly, you're old enough probably to remember. Bill O'Reilly was a nightly fixture. He was everywhere. He was omnipotent everywhere. Once he lost that Fox News platform, it wasn't long before he slipped away. And younger people probably don't even know who the fuck Bill O'Reilly is, right? That's Tucker's future if we win. And I'm happy to be part of making that happen.
Me too. Also, yesterday we had a bit of good news. Robert Hur released his report exonerating Joe Biden. But of course, the corporate media, being the corporate media, ran with the right-wing talking points, because Robert Hur, and a lot of is being made of this, it is not as bad as what people are making it out to be. People
not
are
at
responding.
all.
People
Not at
are
all.
responding. People are responding to what the right wing are saying about it. Right. And they took one excerpt of it. They said, look, he's exonerated. He is. There's nothing we could prosecute him on. And then he goes on to say, and if we did try to prosecute him, I would lose, because he would come off. And this is where he crossed the line. He did. He started giving his opinion of what he thought would happen at trial if he tried to prosecute this, which was just speculative nonsense, unprofessional, should have never happened, and he should be fired for it. He really should. But he said, if I tried to prosecute Joe Biden, he would come off as an elderly man with some memory issues. There wouldn't be culpability there. the jury would look at this and they would never be able to convict him because he would just come off as an elderly man with some memory issues. And of course, the right wing went like, oh my God, he's senile. He's gone, look, it's in print. They interviewed him because he couldn't remember the year that his son died. To which I immediately made a video that's gone crazy all over social media that explains the fact that I was holding my mother's hand when she died. I can tell you what her face looked like. I can tell you what the print on her hospital gown looked like. I can tell you where everybody in the room was standing. I can visualize that room completely, but I can't tell you what year it was.
No doubt. Or the day.
I can't. Yeah.
I can't either. My father died in 2009, and I'm going to be frank with you guys. The way I deal with all of my emotional baggage is I just ignore it, okay? I put it away, I put it in a box, and it's gone. I've never once dealt with my father's death, and I never plan on doing it because it sounds like a shitty day, okay? And therefore, I don't do the yearly post today on, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever. I lost my father because I don't fucking want to think about it. Okay. So I know, broadly speaking, like in my life when it happened, but I can't tell you the day and I can't tell you the year and I don't want to fucking know. Right. Yeah, but let me just say this about when you finally get your copy of Hit 'em Where It Hurts, How to Save Democracy by Beating Republicans at Their Own Game, which is also, by the way, available in an Audible version that I read, you are going to shit your pants when you get to the part where I talk about media and how the Republican Party knows our media is stupid and manipulatable and develops strategies on purpose to turn them basically into useful idiots. Okay. And I lay out the Barr memo, because the Barr memo was so brilliantly done. Okay. This report's going to come out. There's tons of, it's like with Biden, tons of, neglectful shit or bad shit, but nothing chargeable as a criminal indictment. Lots of collusion in the Mueller report, right? But Barr gets ahead of it, puts out that memo. He understands, as the Attorney General of the United States, what he says is going right into print. And he says right at the beginning, no collusion. So what does every headline in America say that day? No collusion. Okay. And that has pervaded so strongly that not just MAGA people, average people will tell you, oh, didn't they find no collusion? Okay. And so when you read through this and you see like, okay, the Republican strategists understand how our media work and they're using it to control the narrative, and not just their ecosystem, ours too, especially ours. You're going to see that how much this Hur memo is just exactly the same. Okay. For 2 years now, Republicans have been trying to brand Biden as senile. Okay. They've spent millions of dollars all through right-wing digital stuff, Fox News, all these things. It has been so successful that when you poll the public, they have broad concerns about Biden's mental competence and 15, 20 points less concerned about Trump. We all know that Donald Trump is basically fucking crazy, right? Like he cannot even articulate a coherent thought, let alone make a Freudian slip or whatever, right? And yet the public, the regular public's perception is that it's Biden, not Trump. And now they have this wonderfully executed political hit job report that was designed the entire fucking time to make the media talk about Joe Biden being senile. And boy, what has happened again? Our useful idiots are happy to deliver. And they don't even... How can you not figure out that report is written so that you report old man memory problems, right? Like it's so amazing to me, the gullibility of some of these major publications, major journalists. Like you would think a hard-nosed Beltway reporter would be able to recognize spin, and yet boom, what did they do? They took it right out and snarky tweet all fucking night, right? Like Biden. And, it was, I mean, as always, I'm left to just sit there and admire how incredibly good the Republican machine is.
Which is why I want to run this clip right here, because I want you to compare what we just talked about with Joe Biden to this.
Yes.
I think so, yes.
And do you recall when you first saw this photo?
At some point during the process, I saw it. That's, I guess her husband, John Johnson.
He's wrong about that.
Was an anchor for ABC. Nice guy. I thought, I mean, I don't know him, but I thought he was pretty good at what he did. I don't even know who the woman, let's see, I don't know who, it's Marla.
Who? It's
You say
Marla.
Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla, yeah, that's my wife.
Which one are you pointing to? No.
Here. Oh, is that-
Yeah.
The one you just pointed to was
oh, I
Eugene
see.
Carroll.
Who is that? Who is
You
that?
tried to help him. I never saw that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you notice that Haba tries to yell, "That's Carol"?
Carol, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Okay,
never saw that because I've never seen the captions.
give a picture of Eugene Carroll, who he is going to get sued. I mean, I would
Yeah.
know who's suing me. I would.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
not
me
something like I don't remember the year my dad died because I don't think about it. This
Yeah.
person is suing me now. I'm in a deposition now.
And
This
she's in the
person's suing me.
courtroom. Right?
That's my wife Marla and her husband John. No, it's not. It's Eugene frickin' Carroll, the person that's suing you, and he doesn't know. Just like he's talking about during the War of Independence, we were took over those airports.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. And when well, so what we need to
that's
be
real
doing.
mental incompetence.
No shit. And so there's so much video evidence of this, okay? What we have to do is we have to make sure people are seeing it at the same level that they're seeing the stuff about Biden, the rights version. And so the impulse is, oh, okay, well, let's do defense, right? We'll show how Biden is competent. He can do this. Look at how can he be demented? He's got this big list of accomplishments. Don't fucking do that, okay? Counter offense, not defense. Counter offense, saturate, right? Paid ads, earned media, just nonstop coverage. Donald Trump confused the woman he raped with his wife, okay? In a legal deposition. Like
And this.
And
By the
yet-
way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that. These are, by the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley,
he's in this campaign right now. This is not a deposition about, hey, what year did your son die? No, buddy. He is running against Nikki Haley right now, and he's confusing her for Nancy Pelosi.
no doubt.
And I don't mean a little bit. I mean, he's talking about the same bullshit narrative that they were trying to push about Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. You're absolutely right. I don't do defense. Look at this crazy motherfucker.
No doubt.
Look at who they're running.
Yeah, and we got to make them look because people are not us. Is the front half of the book, folks, is going to bring you into the brain of a trained political scientist. And in poli-sci world, like the reason I did election forecasting is because I was a trained political scientist and I'd read 538 or whatever. And I'd be like, dude, don't these folks read like the literature from poli-sci? Because there's some things about the way they talk about things, especially in terms of independent voters, that seems to just ignore the entire rich, 50-year history of political science research, right? And that front half of the book is about getting you to understand the politics from a political science perspective and not from a TV journalist who's never studied elections and hangs out with them. So they're a practitioner expert, but not an expert. And in that, it's about getting people to understand we are not normal human beings. If you're watching Texas Paul, you're particularly not a normal human being because you're watching.
You're way above the curve.
Yes, exactly. You're a 1%er. Okay. You're not a 1%er like that. No. I mean, your brain is a 1%er because you know who Kevin McCarthy and Mike Johnson is. Regular Americans would be hard pressed to tell you which party controlled the House of Representatives, that when something fails in Washington, the reason the obstruction strategy that Republicans have been doing now for 15 years straight works every time for them is that if you go ask voters right now on the stump, why didn't immigration reform happen? They're going to blame Biden. okay? Because they don't know. They don't know any of the context you know. They don't know how the government works. They don't understand separation of powers. They may be able to name 3 branches, maybe. 50% won't be able to do that, but the other 50% can name them, and probably only 20% of them could do anything additional to like describe what that means to have a Congress and a president and a judiciary, right? So that's the clay that we're working with. It is a rough clay. It is much more interested in the NFL and Taylor Swift and cooking shows and sports and entertainment and rap and all the other shit that we can have in this wonderfully complex free world that we've managed to build for ourselves in the 21st century. But the thing that people don't like is politics. They don't have an interest in it. That interest is going to drive knowledge. I don't have an interest in opera. I could not tell you one name of one opera singer, not one, because I never read about it. Same thing for most people with politics. So it's our job to make them look. And what we have to make them see isn't so much about selling Biden. It's about making them see what the Republican Party is about in its modern version, and make sure that they're scared as shit about it.
Amen. Amen. Preach it, sister. And that's why Taylor Swift terrifies the living shit out of them, and why they've been attacking her. And I love it. They normally don't make unforced errors like that.
Right.
Swifties will fucking cut
No
you.
shit. No shit. And they don't even know. Most of those people, so like, let's say there's 200 million fans on Twitter for Taylor, okay? What I was just telling you is people don't care about politics, especially young fucking people. Okay? They don't care. And so when we look at like what percent of her 200 million people had any idea Republican, Trump, MAGA, knew any of that? Because they don't know any of that. It's not something, politics is not something on their radar. Now 50 million young people are getting an introduction to politics. That introduction is to MAGA. MAGA's claim is that the most successful woman in the history of the world actually built her wealth from men. Men made her rich, okay? Like, it is not good for them. And I'm so happy because the Hamas-Gaza problem within the Democratic vote, especially young progressives, it's a huge issue because TikTok has totally fucked their brains on Gaza, okay? It's a huge issue. Huge issue.
TikToks. I call them
I mean,
TikToks.
it's a psych ops, guys, and we're not immune to it. So if a foreign entity wants to get into the liberal brain, it's got a direct pathway. It's never had that before. We never had a thing that allowed foreign governments to influence our own opinions like we have the internet. And with the young people angry about that, we're talking about Taylor Swift. I'm very, very pleased that they've chosen to attack her. I only hope that they can keep going for us.
The audience is telling me to recruit you for a weekly show because this is so fucking awesome. Hey,
glad they liked it. They should read the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There is one, we're running out of time. I've got to go do Hal Sparks' show after this. So we're running out of time, but there's something that I really want you to address for these people. They don't get how someone who is on TikTok who gets a like from a bot that doesn't even exist. It's just a program that's designed to go out utilizing AI to search out certain verbiage to find people and put just a little heart out there, can absolutely recruit and draw in someone to the point where they will die on that hill because someone liked me. And they don't get it. I mean, they don't get it. They don't understand that it is literally that psychological thing that is happening. This person doesn't really care that much about Gaza. They're not informed. They're just highly passionate because they got a like that they didn't used to get. They used to get 3 likes on their posts, and now they've got 3,000 of them.
Yeah.
And they're in orbit,
it sucks. The internet, it's like everything else in life. I mean, I'm a big nuanced person. I'm not a black and white thinker. Social media, the internet has done so much good. Okay. It has done so much bad too. Right. And one of the things it has done bad is it has allowed psychological manipulation to really become next level. We haven't seen this kind of a manipulation of mass opinion since the radio was invented. And right after the radio was invented, folks, the Germans were like, ooh, something that we can beam into every living room and every household in the country. And they bought every house a radio, a people's radio is what they called it, for their propaganda to go straight into their heads. So, the internet is good and bad, and it's like everything else in the world.
So share those memes, go on the offensive. Republicans are shit. That's an easy catch line. Republicans are shit. Republicans don't do shit. Republicans just block the border bill.
Republicans steal your shit. Republicans have plans to pass a national abortion ban and leave you nowhere to run. In Texas, obviously, abortion is the hottest issue. And if Colin Allred wants to seriously contest Ted Cruz, then he's going to hammer very, very hard about women dying in the Texas hospital parking lots.
Mm-hmm. But instead, what they're doing is they're trying to talk about how tough they are on the border, and it's just driving me up the frickin' wall.
Yeah.
It is driving me up the frickin' wall. You dismiss it. We Democrats have better border policies, and then move on.
Yeah, well, actually, you tell the story. 3 times Republicans have blocked comprehensive border security bills, 2006, 2013, and now again in 2024, when they say it's a crisis that we're all going to die from. So you got to tell people that. They don't know.
Amen. I appreciate you. I hate that we're out of time. I was hoping they were going to be able to throw some questions to you. Come back, pretty please. I'm a huge fan, as you know. Let me post the book up one more time. You can get it on Amazon if you don't want to do what I'm doing, which is going and look at a stupid clerk. Rachel Bidicoffer, Hit 'em Where It Hurts. How to Save Democracy by Beating Republicans at Their Own Game. It's an important read for you folks, because I tell you all the time, my job is to bring you information. My job is to get you fired up. It is your job to go out and share that information. It is your job to share those memes. It's your job to get out on social media and fight the fight. You are the soldiers. You're the ones that do it. And you're like Dr. Bidicoffer said, you are the 1%. You are the ones that know. You can dominate this conversation. Do it. Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. Well, folks, it was another great time. I appreciate spending time with you. As always, thank you for the support. Thank you very much for the support. I've been dying to get Dr. Bidicoffer on, because she is amazing. She really is. She is amazing. We're going to do it again real soon, I'm sure. I'm going to bug the hell out of her till she comes back. Got to cut it short. Catch me on Hal later on this afternoon. I will be on at noon Central, 1 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock Eastern. Come check us out. Had a blast. As always, wonderful to see you. This is Old Texas Paul out. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.